What if instead of Vittorio Storaro, Dan Laustsen shot that movie? Now, thanks to technology and AI, I was able to see that parallel world. So I asked AI to show me the look of those movies if you were the cinematographer, and the results are very interesting. Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Wassup Conversations. I'm your host Hamid Nikufar, and today I have a two-time Oscar-nominated cinematographer on the podcast. To mention some of his amazing work, I can name Best Picture, The Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley, Crimson Peak, and all the John Wick movies from John Wick Chapter 2 to the recent John Wick Chapter 4. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dan Laustsen. In this episode, Dan and I do an interesting experiment. We ask AI to reimagine some of Dan's favorite movies as if he was the cinematographer of those movies. For example, how would Apocalypse Now look if Dan was the DP of that movie? The result is extraordinary. We talk about Dan's background, movies, working with Guillermo del Toro, Silent Hill, future of cinematography, and many more. Before we begin, please make sure to subscribe to Wassup Conversations if you're enjoying the show. Wassup Conversations is on YouTube and all the podcast streaming services. To learn more from the podcast, please visit nikufarmusic.com. Shout out to Emad Omri for making the video version of this interview. Alright, let's go. Hello and welcome to Wassup Conversations, Dan. It's such an honor to have you on the show. I'm a huge fan of your work, and if there were a way to do a surgery on my eye to look at the word the way I want, I would have picked your way of looking and capturing the words. So thank you for coming in.
I'm very proud to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So now, I have a surprise for you, sir. I know 6 of your favorite movies regarding their cinematography. Excellent movies, by the way. So I was wondering that what if Dan Laustsen was the cinematographer of those movies? How would they look like? For example, Apocalypse Now is one of your favorite movies. What if instead of Vittorio Storaro, Dan Laustsen shot that movie? Now, thanks to technology and AI, I was able to see that parallel world. So I asked AI to show me the look of those movies if you were the cinematographer, and the results are very interesting. I have those pictures and I want to show them to you. So I will send it to you one by one to see what do you think about them and if they are in a way close to what you would have shot. All right. Are you ready, sir, for the first movie?
But nobody can do it better than Victoria Storaro, so that's not easy. But I think, he's the master of masters, so, but I'm proud to be a part of that club.
Great. The first one is, Apocalypse Now, shot by Vittorio Storaro. Yeah. Do you have it now?
I got something here for sure.
So, do you see it?
Yeah. Again, what Victorio Storaro did on that movie is amazing, and there's nothing, I will not even try to get close to that because he is a master. And it's one of my favorite movies all the time. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. So, the second one is The Seventh Seal, shot by Gunnar Fischer, right?
Beautiful. Very beautiful.
Is it close to your way of shooting it? If there wasn't any Seventh Seal as a reference.
No, I like this play. I've shot one black and white movie for many years ago, a ballet movie in Denmark.
Yeah.
We have a lot of issues with film stocks those days. But what Bergman and Gunnar Fischer did on that movie is amazing. And I think Gunnar Fischer was one of the biggest master to do black and white movies. He was, The Seventh Seal is amazing. And I love it. And I think he's a master as well, together with Bergman, of course.
You shot Nightmare Alley in color, but later on there was a black and white version of that. So basically you had 2 black and white movies, right?
That's correct. I forgot Nightmare Alley. I have to admit that. But we shot Nightmare Alley in color, and I think it looks really nice. What we did there was fantastic. But you can. The Seventh Seal is amazing. And Gunnar Fischer was a master.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's not here anymore.
Yeah. Number 3, Citizen Kane, shot by Greg Toland.
Beautiful. It's like, again, a master. It's so fantastic shot. And, what I like about those movies is, the camera is placed the perfect place every time. They're blocking the scenes, they're blocking the scenes and lighting the scenes. It's so fantastic to see that nowadays, because the movie making have changed a little bit since those days. So the old masters, really knew how to tell the story with light and camera angles, and I think it's fantastic.
And it was a revolutionary movie regarding cinematography. Did you see Mank, by the way?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't remember it clearly, but I saw Mank. A very nice movie, of course. But it's Citizen Kane it's a masterpiece, of course. Again, it's like they knew what they was doing, those guys.
Yeah. So, number 4 is Am Cuba, cinematography by Sergei Urusovsky, if I'm pronouncing it right. Right. So, this is the only movie that I haven't watched on your list. All of them I have watched, and fantastic movies. But as much as I know, this movie is black and white, right?
It is. And if I remember correctly, it's shot on black and white infrared film stock. And those guys, I think they have that dogma about they don't want to shoot where there was no clouds in the sky. And you see that when they're out there, I think this is a weird picture because it's a black and white movie. And
exactly.
Yeah,
sometimes it's
it's a black and white movie. It's shot, everything is shot handheld, shot with a very wide lens. And I think a lot of cinematographers have been very inspiring, including myself, on that movie. And it's shot in '62 in Cuba on a Russian cinematographer and a Russian director. It was, as far as I I'm not. That's what I think it is. But and again, it's the way they're blocking the scenes, the way the lighting is, that the actors are coming. There's some scenes in that movie I have no idea how they're doing. When there's a scene where they're burning a field down, and the camera is in there with the actors. There's no visual effects. It's just for real, and it's unbelievable. It's really, and I think everybody that have a chance to see it should see it because it's really a masterpiece.
Yeah, I've added to the list to watch it. So number 5 is 7, cinematography by Darius Khanji.
Yeah, but I think 7 times Country did it much better. The whole world. The whole world about going to the really dark side, and it's rain and it's blue and it's super scary. I remember the first time I saw that movie, I didn't know what it was. So I saw that in Copenhagen, and I was just blown away because I thought what Darius Khanji did there was unbelievable. And, not be afraid of the darkness and just go really into deep shadows and playing with the highlights as well. And it's working so well with the story. So, the way those guys did it, go to the blue side, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's very strange because this picture is very warm. The opposite of 7.
I remember 7 as a very very cold movie. I could be wrong, but I remember the chase in the end is like rainy and handheld, and it works extremely well.
Yeah. All right, last movie.
But that quantity there was mind-blowing.
Exactly. Last movie is a relatively new movie, Lighthouse, shot by Jareen Blaschke. And again, this is one of those examples. That movie is black and white, but here we see relatively some colors inside the picture. It's coming right now.
But Lighthouse, I love Lighthouse. I think it's not a big movie, but the DP, the director, just have a very, very clear about what they want to do. And I think that when the movie is getting, story-wise, it's getting more and more crazy. The cinematographer is getting more and more powerful as well. And it's, again, those guys have a very, very clear opinion where they want to go. And I love that. I think they did an amazing movie, and I really love Lighthouse. I think it's again, another masterpiece. And it's done for some years ago, and it's really nice to see people can still push the image and push the storytelling with the light and cinematographers and angles. It's for me, it's just a pleasant to see those kind of movies. And because they're not afraid of anything, they're just telling the story they think that should be told. And it is really an amazing movie as well.
Yeah. Are you seeing the picture now?
Yes, I do. But it seems like a Dan Lauststen green sky. But I think again the black and white version is nicer. So I'm a bit, yeah. But Lighthouse is amazing.
Yeah. So looking at we're done. These were the pictures. So looking at AI and new technologies that are changing the way we make and watch movies, what do you think is the future of cinematography would look like?
See, I'm not afraid of the future at all. And I don't know, I'm not a very, very technical guy, but I still think, you have to tell the story together with the director and the actors. That is the storytelling with the camera and light. Um, and I don't think you can take that away. Maybe you can, but the movies I'm doing together with clever directors and a clever crew, it's still you have to have an opinion about where should you put the camera, what should the feeling be in the scene, and which way do you want to go with the storytelling, and that is the camera and lighting and costume designer and production designer, all that. And of course, there's a lot of movies that's getting done a lot in post, and some of those movies is fantastic, and some of the movies is maybe not so fantastic, but it's. I think the technology is always going to help you to do something more interesting.
Uh, are you aware? Are you known to this technological volume? I guess they use it in a Mandalorian, where there are like big LCDs behind you and rendered in Unreal Engine, and when you're just capturing it, just changes the background instead of green screen.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is it making it easier for cinematography instead of having this like green screen? It's nothing basically.
If it were, I've never done it. Of course, I've seen some movie, I've seen some test on it, and I think if it works, I think the differences you're doing when you're doing this kind of technique, you have to do a lot of test and you have to find the plates first, so you know what the background is going to be. And it seems like there's a lot of issues with it right now, but it feels like it's a technique that's going to be much more improved over the years instead of green screen. But again, what do you want to tell? I think it's better to do things for real. I think it's better to do as much as you can in the camera. And of course, you cannot go to the moon in the camera. I understand that. But I just think you should. For me, it's more interesting to do as much as you can for real. You're going in or go back to the old technique, the miniatures and stuff like that. It's just getting more organic, I think. And of course, depends how you want to use it and how you want to tell the story. It's people that are controlling the technique and not the opposite way. And if you have a clear and clever idea how you want to use it, it's don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, you mentioned.
That,
yeah, you mentioned that working with directors is still relevant. Working with actors is something that is not going away, and it's very important. And one of them collaborators that you guys are genius together, or Guillermo del Toro. And I'm very curious about how did you guys meet for the first time? What was your first impression, and how did you guys become such successful collaborators?
No, we did a movie from many years ago that called Mimic. We did that. It was like 97 or something like that, some years ago.
Yeah.
And we did that very old style. We shot on film. Of course, we shot everything in the camera because visual effects was very, very slow those days. And of course, some of the creatures is made, help with digital. And I think Guillermo is a master in all this, the storytelling and creature things. And, he's a fantastic director. And he knows exactly which way he wants to go with the story and how he wants to tell it and what is the feeling in the movie should be. So we shot Mimic, and then we didn't work together. We didn't click. I did something and he did something. We was not calendar was not meeting each other. And then he asked me to do Crimson Peak,
Wow.
10, 15 years later.
Love that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. I think I'm very, very happy about the movie, but it feels like that was one of those movies that just disappeared. And I don't know why. Because I've seen it recently and I really like it. I think it's great. And, everything, the set design, the production design, the costumes, the makeup, the lighting, it's blending so well together. And the story, I love the story as well. But it's just a movie that just disappeared, and that's a shame, of course. And after that, we did Shape of Water, a small movie it's a pretty small budget movie, but again, Guillermo have a very, very clear idea which way he wants to go, and everybody was supporting that, and we did a really good movie together.
Yeah, and then Nightmare Alley, right?
And Nightmare Alley.
What a beautiful movie.
Thank you, with Bradley Cooper and Kate Blanchett, and so that was another, very visual movie, a very moving camera, a lot of don't be afraid of the darkness and don't be afraid of deep shadows. And that's what Guillermo and me like, we are not so, I would say Crimson Peak was a very colorful movie. And there was a very strong color palette in Shape of Water as well. And then, of course, Nightmare Alley I just love it because I think it's a very strong story, and it works really well.
I think Guillermo wanted to shoot it in black and white, and you were the man behind making it color. Is that right?
I don't think I don't have that kind of power because again, we're talking about what
power of reason.
And it's a difficult way to. I think it's difficult to make bigger movies in black and white because nobody wants to pay for it. I don't know too much about that. I'm just saying. Guillermo wants to do it in color, so we did it in color.
Oh, yeah.
And that's I love it, And then of course I know we made a black and white version where we went back to the raw files and just get in and played with the basic colors and just make a very strong color palette there, but in black and white. So it was another way. It was not like when you just take the colors down on your iPhone. We really went back and play with the three basic colors and figure out how is that doing for each scene. So it's a lot of work there, but it looks really good.
Yeah, when we think about noir movies, the first image that pops up in the head is probably something in black and white. But there are amazing colored noir movies. And I was wondering that Nightmare Alley is such a beautiful movie. For example, another one is Chinatown. Nightmare Alley is such a beautiful looking noir film. Why do you think we love the look of noir movies so much that we do think that it would make what do you think would make a good noir movie?
It was just a strong, you talk about Chinatown. Chinatown is another masterpiece. And, I think it's just a nice period. It's a little bit like it's not too far away. And and you can still play around. And the lights, you could go close to black and white lighting and you still buy it. It's just like, if you do it too artificial, you're going to get out of the story. But I think when you're doing noir movies, the way we did, we wanted to do a very strong noir movie when we did Nightmare Alley. The carnival in the beginning is a little bit more realistic lighting, and then we're coming into the Buffalo world is getting totally into noir, and the lighting is getting a little bit more sophisticated and much more single source lighting, and Kate Blanchett have the shadows in the forehead, a very noir look. But I cannot tell you why people like it as an audience. I just think it's a very strong image you can do that way.
It's a combination of many things. I mean, the music is always top notch. The look of them, even if they are like neo-noirs, like, I don't know, Blade Runner, and it's all perfect together. One of my favorite projects you've worked on is Silent Hill. I'm a fan of Silent Hill games, and the movie captured the spirit and the look of the franchise very well. How was the process of recreating the style of a rich world that was made completely digital into a real life action movie?
It's some years ago, so I don't remember clearly, but I'm not a computer game. I've never played computer games, so I'm not. My son have done that a lot. August have done that a lot. So I know it's existing. But of course, when we start to talk about Silent Hill, we have did Brotherhood of the Wolf first, Christopher Gant and myself. And when we start to look at the concept drawings, what is, I think we use the computer game like a kind of a guideline, not really a storyline, but a guideline, which way we want to go. And again, a lot of the stuff is shot practical. Of course, when the painting is flying up the walls and all that is digital. But we shot most of that movie on location in Canada. So, we just decided to go, again, deep shadows, a lot of smoke, try to make it as scary as we could. And we didn't use, I don't remember we used the game as our Bible. We just knew there was the way, there was a game, but we was not using it as a guideline.
Yet it was so close to the game. That's why it was awesome.
Yeah,
Great job.
I've never seen the game, I think, so I don't know.
They're making a sequel to that movie. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Oh.
And I think that's going to be with Christopher Gant again as a director.
Yeah. Oh, it's good.
And that's
great.
great.
Yeah. So you're great at creating scary images for horror movies. What are some helpful tips that you learned about shooting horror movies that would make the film look more intense?
Again, don't be afraid of the darkness. I think, again, what is the story? I haven't done horror movies for some years now, but I did a couple for some years ago. And again, you just play with the shadows, play with the camera angles. What is the story? Don't be afraid of, again, the darkness and making some interesting and scary camera angles. But, there's two ways to go in those scary movies, isn't it? Because it's a silent place, super, super scary, and then you could go alien. It's just two different, and I think both of them work so well. So it's not like there is a rule. You just have to follow your heart and talk as a DP, you just have to talk to the director about which way are we going to do it, because there's nothing wrong and right. And you just see that all the time. It's very much the story. And of course you have to support the story as a cinematographer.
Yeah. So I love John Wick movies. When you stepped in John Wick 4, the movie became even more stylish. How did that project happen, and what were the initial conversations with Chad Stahelski?
When Chad asked me, I just have done Crimson Peak with Guillermo, and then the trailer came out, and Chad saw the trailer, and he really likes the color palette. So he asked me to fly to New York, so I did that from Copenhagen. And I didn't know too much about John Wick. So I saw number one. It was great. It was great. But then Chad said, number two, we wanted, of course, have to be better than number one. That's the secret. You have to be. So we was just changing the color palette. We're changing the lens package and, the way we want to shoot it. And Chad was very much into it. He said, I want to shoot a John Wick movie so it looks like a Bertolucci movie. And I was like, a cinematographer was like, Bertolucci is fantastic, so why not? So we did that on number two, and then we went even further on number three, and then he asked me to do number four. And of course, I think number three was amazing. And this was a big challenge to make number four more powerful, more colorful, more in amazing locations. So, Chad, Kevin, the production designer, myself, just sat down and talked about which way are we going. We are going. And Chad and me and Keanu Reeves went to Japan for some years ago. So we was just talk about going much more to the Japanese way, more, making the color palette more contrasty and a little bit like maybe a little bit over the top, but still getting very stylish. So that was what we tried. And again, we tried to go, we went another camera package again. We went large format cameras. We went large format anamorphic lenses. And we shot the movie much more wide angle comparing to what we have done before, because Keanu Reeves and the rest of the actors are so good to stunt. So it just wants to. It feels like a kind of ballet instead of a fight sequence.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the fight is like a ballet, and we want to capture that, and I hope it works.
Yeah, surely it did. So, chapter 4, John Wick chapter 4 came out recently, and it is doing fantastic. Congratulations. So, and this is my favorite John Wick movie on every level. So, and my favorite scene is the top-down scene. That I know Chad said that he was influenced by a video game called Hong Kong Massacre. How did you guys shoot that scene, and what were the challenges creating such an unusual look?
Again, Chad has some crazy ideas, and that's fantastic. I love him for that. So he came to us and said, "I want to do that," and he showed us that. I think there was a video game again. I'm not a big video guy, so again, but he showed us we should go this way. And doing this practical is because we did everything practical. Of course, the flames and all that is visual effects. But so we have a lot of discussions again. How are we going to do it? How big have the stage have to be? Because Chad wants to have a big apartment. So we was building that in Germany, and we was building it on a stage that was a little bit too small for what he wants to do. But that's the nature. Sometimes you cannot get to a space that's big enough. So we talked about how to do it, and the stunt people at the second unit's stunt coordinator, or our stunt coordinator, was rehearsing it for us. So, we talked about what should the blocking be. So we shot with a spider cam. The spider cam is a camera that can fly everywhere. So we did a couple of rehearsals, and those guys rehearsed it. And we came in on a Saturday and just make some tweaks about, should we go this way a little bit more, go that way. And then when we knew the camera movement, we started to like the scene. So it was a slow process, but it was first time I heard about it again, was like, how are we going to do this? And it was a lot of challenge there, but it works amazing. And everybody seems to love that scene. So that is great.
How did you light that? When I was thinking about that, how did you guys light that? How can
all the light is coming from outside the windows.
Wow.
There's not one single light in the set. So everything is coming from outside the window.
That we always know where John is, and that's a weird angle to see. How can you say that this is John or someone else? But we always know that, and we always know where he's going. That is crazy. The more I think about it, more it makes me confused.
Have a very, the fire guns and all that, of course, is helping to illuminate the rooms, but all the light is coming from outside the rooms. And because we have to shoot a very, very wide angle, so there's no way to hide the lights, and that was one of the challenges. But it works really well.
Another great scene is the club scene when they are fighting in the rain, and that is crazy too. I know shooting rain, people in the rain, in that amount of water is crazy hard. So, what was that process?
It was funny because Chad knew he wants to do that from the beginning. So when we start to check camera equipment, lighting packets, and all that, we did a couple of tests of rain as well with Girk, the visual effects guy from Germany. So we did a kind of waterfalls, and how should the waterfall works? Because are we going to side light it, going to backlight it? And we knew the color palette will be so strong. And then we find the location, and this pretty big location, it's like 300 or 400 meters long. It's really big. And of course, it's a big deal to light a scene like that, because you have to do that with LED lights, because otherwise you cannot control the colors and bring them up and down and change them from red to green or steel blue or whatever color we used. But on top of that, we knew there was going to be a big fight sequence in the waterfall. So Doug Lavender, my first AC, he's a guy from Canada. He's a genius. we start to look into what could we do, because we have to shoot with real underwater camera. But underwater camera have that you don't have issues with water on the lens. But when you're shooting in a waterfall, you have water on the lens all the time. So that we have some air knives. We have some wear knives that are pushing a lot of air into in front of the lens all the time. And we didn't have any issue with just the cameras getting a very big thing, so the operators is crazy. But it was a scene Chad knew he wanted to do it from the beginning. So we have a lot of time to figure out how to do that. But it was a big scene, of course.
Yeah. So
but there's no small scenes in John Wick 4. Everything is like crazy big.
Yeah. So a lot of young filmmakers these days make movies with their phones, including me. And what tips do you have for people shooting with not very expensive and professional cameras?
I just think the most important is figure out what do you want to do, what is your story, how do you want to tell it, and just exercise. Just do a lot of mistakes. Don't be afraid of going too far one direction or to another direction. And just follow your heart. You really have to believe what you're doing and just try it. And the more you try, the better you be. And I think that is the whole thing about movie making right now. There's nothing right and wrong. When I was starting in the business for some years ago, there was a lot of things you cannot do that because that's blah, blah, blah. But I think the beauty of movie making right now is that you can do whatever you want as long as it works. But you just have to follow your heart. You have to support the direction, your story. As a cinematographer. And I think that is the most important, is figure out what you want to do yourself. And of course, that's very easy to say. But exercise and don't be afraid of making mistakes, because now you have the tools to do it. You don't have to shoot on super expensive films. You have an iPhone or a cheaper camera, whatever. But again, which way do you want to go? I think that's the most important. What is the storyline, and what is the lights? How do you want to tell it, and how should it look? Yes. That is what I'm thinking. Follow your heart. I think follow your heart as much as you can, because that is the right thing.
Yeah,
and don't be afraid of. Don't be afraid of it.
Exactly. So
and don't be afraid of making mistakes, because everybody does. If you don't make a mistake, you're not pushing yourself too far enough. I'm making mistakes all the time.
Yeah. About that. So shooting a movie is full of challenges. How do you deal with the stress and the sudden changes that requires your decision making on the spot? Something that you didn't predict.
I think preparation is the most important thing. Of course, stress is, some people get more stressed than others, and it's just something you have to. I think stress is not bad, because it's giving a lot of energy, but don't get it too stressed so you're getting sick, of course. But it's, if you're getting stressed, you're getting a lot of energy into your work, and I think that's not bad at all. But I think preparation, if you're well prepared and something happens, it's easier for you to go another direction. If you have 5 lights and one of them is not working, you just don't get a heart attack. Just figure out, I have 5, now I have 4, and let's do that and that instead. And I think that is preparation. If you know what you want to do on the day, you're coming into a room, it's not like, oh, what do I do here? But again, different people work different ways. When I'm doing a movie with Guillermo or with Chad or whatever, we are very, very prepped. But we are not so prepped, so we're not going to change our mind. If we have a better idea on the day, we're just going to do that. It's not like, oh, we cannot do that because we said we will do it this way. I think preparation is important, because then you can get a better idea.
Yeah.
On the day. I think that is like, again, this works much better. Let's do it this way. And that's the reason I'm not a big fan of storyboards, because I think storyboard is like killing this that flow of new inspiration. Of course, I know sometimes you need storyboards for something, but I'm not a big fan of story, because I think storyboards is like somebody have sit down and make a drawing, and then you have to shoot it. And I don't think that's the right way to go, but that's again my opinion. And of course, I know I work with storyboards a lot, but I think storyboards a guideline. It's like this is what we think we are going to do, and then we are going to do it better.
Yeah. So your portfolio is full of different kinds of movies. Is there any kind of movie or genre that is on your wish list to hopefully shoot one day?
Yeah, there's three things actually. I really like to make a small drama, like the Lighthouse, for example. I think the Lighthouse is amazing in that way, because it's two actors and they're blowing it away. I think that's really, really interesting. And then I like to do a space movie.
Wow. What kind of space movie? Alien, Star Wars.
I don't know that. I think it's just a very interesting environment. It's very, and of course, I love fantasies. But I love to work with Guillermo because it's a fantasy world, and you can do whatever you like. And I think that is the beauty of movie making. It's just your own imaginations that's stopping it. And again, push the images as much as you can.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons I think Lighthouse looks amazing. And I think those guys did an incredible job. And I think this kind of movie is so cool because it's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And what is the third movie that you want to make?
I'm not sure about that. I forgot that.
How about Western?
No, Western could be fantastic, but it just seems to be so complicated. I would love to do a Western, of course, shooting out in the wild. A Western is great. I've been offered a couple of Westerns, but have never been happened. But Western is amazing. It's just a genre, Once Upon a Time in the West, those movies are amazing. That's like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Chatter me and looking at them all the time because it's fantastic.
Yeah, that is great. So, all right, this is it.
Yes.
Dan, thank you so much for your time. Your way of looking at the world has given us so many memorable moments and so many beautiful frames to be inspired by. On behalf of all the cinema lovers, I would like to thank you for your years of creating beautiful moments for us. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.